From each happily ever after, every wish upon a star. Let's break down the movies that shaped who we are. From memory lane to now and everything in between. The most famous of films to the ones we've never seen. Decade by decade, all the times we laughed and cried. And with a little pixie dust, they will all take flight. Reliving the feelings, and we're trying our very best. And if they mean the same to you, please be our guest. So hop aboard, we would love to have you as we hang with a certain mouth, the whole gang too. If you love nostalgia stuff, we hope this does the trick. Thanks for joining us as we deep dive the magic.
Hi, and welcome back to the Deep Diving the Magic podcast. I'm KJ.
And I'm Jeffrey, and we're back again with another edition of the True Life Adventure films. A little bit different this time, but this is Disney feature length film number 35, and it is from August 28th, 1957, and it is a film called Perri.
Narrated by Winston again, because he has narrated all of these.
That's right. Would you like to start us off with a synopsis?
Yeah. True life nature photography is used to tell the tale of a female tree squirrel named Perri, who encounters many different forest creatures, both friendly and dangerous, as she grows up through the 4 seasons and finds a mate named Paro.
Yeah. So it is based on a 1938 novel titled Perri, the Youth of a Squirrel. And this is the first true life adventure film that they're calling a true life fantasy. When the credits are starting, it does say, with the cooperation of the U.S. Forest Service, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and the Utah Fish and Game Department. It does also say, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. And that's nature's basic law. Are you ready to dive in?
Mm-hmm.
Well, take us away, my friend.
So, the film opens up with a beautiful morning mountain scene that then goes through the forest and by a pond. Then it opens up into a meadow, and I am expecting that we are just transported into real life action Bambi.
Yeah.
That's what I was expecting. That was all the vibes I was getting. So it starts out in spring, and they talk about new beginnings everywhere. And then you see like all the new baby animals in the forest, and
It's located in Wildwood Heart.
then you actually see Bambi, a little Bambi.
Wildwood Heart.
So then it kind of goes back to a pine squirrel. After a time of mating, it says that the male lives in a bachelor pad with his mate and a nearby tree with her brood. Enter our main character, Perri, as a baby squirrel.
Baby squirrel.
So it talked about how, like, to take care of them, like, she has to feed them, but to be able to do that, she has to feed herself. So Perry's mom leaves the tree to go feed herself. She actually eats some kind of mushroom that I guess is poisonous, but squirrels can eat them, I guess. And while she's out trying to feed herself, she gets attacked by a marten, which I did look it up because I wasn't really familiar with a marten. I don't know if you were.
Spelled with an E, right? M-A-R-T.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's a weasel-like mammal. Because I don't know, I guess it kind of reminded me of like a weasel and a ferret because it was like really long-bodied, but
it's the natural predator of this movie for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so she manages to get back to her nest in the tree, and then at that point, the marten's gonna come up the tree too, because they can climb up the tree, and then at that point, it's gonna be at the nest with the baby squirrels. But the dad in the nearby tree heads out to save the day. And dun dun dun, instead of the mom dying in a Disney film, the dad dies.
He sacrifices himself.
Yeah, so the marten gets him, and then the mom basically has to move Perry and all the siblings over to the father's nest quickly so the marten won't find them. But Perry gets left in the tree, um, but hides in the cedar shavings when the marten comes back after it ate her father. Um, and then it leaves because a raccoon at that point um, starts messing with the marten's nesting area where her babies are, so she has to leave to protect them. And then Perry's mom swoops in to save her.
Yeah, being an animal in the wild must be hard.
Yeah, for sure. Um, then the raccoon leaves and encounters a porcupine. And then we go back to Perry. Uh, and then basically it's saying that she basically is learning the life lesson of death is a necessary end. Um, then you see a lot of different animals. So it talks about wildcats, which kind of look like bobcats to me, but they kept calling them wildcats. Um, the wildcat in this part like swoops in and steals the fox's rabbit because the fox had caught a rabbit to feed all of its babies, and the wildcat swoops in and gets it. And then it talked about how nature keeps things in balance. Talked about the beaver killing the aspen tree, and then eating the tree flesh, but also using the what's left of the tree to form a dam. Um, then we entered into birds, uh, and a bird wakes up a flying squirrel, who I guess typically doesn't fly except for at nighttime, but it comes out during the day and gets killed by a bird. So there's lots of death in
Yeah,
this
this movie
film.
is filled with death.
Um, yeah, it's a time of hunting, a time of peace. And I have in my notes, enter American Ninja Warrior, but with baby squirrels. Then also enter American Ninja Warrior, but enter baby raccoons because they're learning how to walk on tree branches for the first time. And that I couldn't come up with any other better way to describe it because it's like the baby squirrels on like this thin little tree branch trying to walk out to mom that's trying to lure them out with food,
It
and they're like crawling over each other. And
it's like a stressful part, and something that we didn't discuss earlier about this movie is like there's a lot of stressful like death, like we said, but like the narrator, every line that he says rhymes. It's like a nursery rhyme. It's like straight out of like Dr. Seuss,
yeah, it's like living with Jeffrey.
and it's like, but it's like funny because it's like all like these like sad death, stressful times about like animals falling out of
But it
trees,
doesn't
but like
sound sad or
every
anything.
line rhymes. Like it's definitely
You didn't write
something.
any of them down?
No, I just wrote down that every line it's a narration rhyme. Yeah.
Yeah. So then after the squirrels and the raccoons uh practice walking on trees and some of them fall and somehow don't die, which they could die, but they don't. Um, it goes over to a beaver, and I guess a baby beaver is called a kit. I didn't know
Mhm.
that. And it goes to school, basically transported on the mom's back through the water, and then it's taught by dad, and then the dad's basically teaching him how to do logging. And then after the beaver scene, it goes over to Wildcat Kittens, and they get a lesson on lying in waiting to pounce upon prey. And then you see the kittens chasing frogs, and then they chase a mouse.
They let him go.
No, they don't. They never caught the mouse. So then the mouse runs into a baby
Oh
fox,
yeah.
and then one of the baby fox actually catches the mouse in its mouth and moves its head side to side and then just lets it go. And it reminded me of Winston because that's what he has done when he has gotten a mouse before. It's like he gets it in his mouth and then drops it like, "Hey mom, look what I got." Um and then the mouse runs off again. Uh then you see another lesson that the raccoons are being taught to forage for themselves. And then they run into a family of skunks. And then there's like a scuffle and then a baby shuffle. So the skunk had three babies and the raccoon had three babies, and then they scuffled, and then they kind of went their separate ways. But then it was like the raccoon realizes I've got two raccoon babies and one skunk baby. What's going on? And then I guess the skunk realizes, hey, I've got two skunk babies and a raccoon. So then they have to do the baby shuffle, and then it's kind of humorous. And then I think at one point, I think it was the mother skunk actually picks up one of the baby skunks and walks away because it still wanted to go off with the raccoons. So that was kind of cute. So some of this I wonder if it was really staged
I
because
mean, it is a fantasy, this thing.
I don't know. Then you see the raccoon fishing for crayfish, and then I had flashbacks of being a child and falling in the creek. Um, Very hilarious moment in my life. Probably the first time I ever cursed out loud. I fell into the creek on accident. Um, Anyway, then cottonwood seeds snowing down again, so they make another appearance. Which, like I said, we don't have those in North Carolina, or if we do, we don't have them to the consistency that we have here in Massachusetts. And then we go back to Perry. Um, she makes a friend with a ground squirrel, which is technically a chipmunk, until she eats too much too fast, and then the chipmunks want nothing to do with her. Then you see Bambi and Fonz, and then Perry's nest gets attacked, and the family's gone. So she goes back to her tree, and the nest is just in shreds, and nobody's there. She doesn't see anybody. And then she's attacked by Martin and takes off running. And then she's attacked by a wildcat. Um, and then somehow she runs over into Paro's territory, and he's another squirrel, and he helps her escape the wildcat.
Can I say something that happens around here? Is you,
Mm.
you talk about how you think that some of these might be staged or
Mm.
perfect shots, you call them. There's a shot where Perry just like drops the pine cone and it just like hits a raccoon like in the head, and I'm like,
Skunk.
okay, sorry, the skunk in the head, and it's
Mhm.
like that had to be a stage shot. There's no way that they just like
Yeah,
how much B-roll did they have to use to get the thing to fall? So
yeah. Um, so I don't know if I missed it or not, because I know like obviously the synopsis said we were going to go through the four seasons, and it talked about opening up in spring, but I never remember them saying anything about summer. And then all of a sudden it started talking about autumn.
and then it goes to winter, yeah.
You don't remember them saying anything about summer either?
I mean, maybe the
I was
summer.
like, maybe I missed that, but I don't remember them saying anything about summer. But anyway, so we make it into autumn, and then Perry finds a home that's nearby Paro's home, and then somehow she ends up scurrying off looking for food and stuff for winter coming up. And she ends up in a part of the forest that looks like it's straight out of a Tim Burton movie. Um, I don't know, it was like, uh, what are those trees called? It wasn't aspen trees, maybe, but I don't know. Somehow they had grown crooked and stuff because of a storm, it said, in the past. So anyway, she runs into a snake, but the snake wasn't a threat. But then she's also runs into a weasel, which is a threat, and um, she runs up a tree, and then yet again, she is knocked out of the tree by another bird.
It comes in on like a bird's eye shot.
Yeah,
Talk about a stage shot. It's
several
like a
times.
yeah.
And sadly enough, like the weasel's climbing up the tree after her. The bird keeps trying to get her at the top of the tree, so she's basically like double threat here. Like I climb up, I'm dead. I climb down, I'm dead. And then the bird actually swoops in at one point and knocks both of them out of the tree, and actually ends up taking off with the weasel. So Perry made it. Um, and then winter happens, and then Paro's nest gets knocked out of the tree, but at this point it's too late to repair his nest.
Yeah. I think somewhere I don't see it in your notes, but
I don't have notes.
a beaver comes and chews down Perry's tree while she's like up in it. So the tree falls while she's in the tree. I have that in my notes around here.
Yeah, but it is in my notes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Poro's tree.
Yeah, it was Poro's tree.
Poro's
Okay.
tree gets chewed down by a
Which
beaver.
I was literally going over.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so we hit winter. Poro's nest is knocked out of the tree, so he doesn't have time to rebuild it at this point because we're hitting in winter and he needs to find somewhere to stay. So he tries to lodge into a hollow log, but it's noisy, and then he's ran off by a raccoon. He finds a home in an aspen tree, but then there's weird noises before he can go to sleep, and then a beaver cuts it down. So then he is forced to spend the winter in the ground, and then bring on the snow. So, and then there's like a very long sequence of snow. And then it talks about, yeah, and then it talks about Perry's in her tree, and she's just, I guess it said something about squirrels semi-hibernate. So they sleep a lot, but they also wake up and eat a little, but then they'll sleep a lot. So it was talking about her having like dreams.
Yeah, what a weird.
And this was like a trippy dream sequence of an owl, then flying squirrels, then a white owl, and then lots of white rabbits. Like, it was almost like Perry was on acid.
Yeah.
And then in these dreams, these animals would pop up, and then they would just poof, and they're gone. I was like, what is this? So anyway, and then I guess it's kind of becoming spring again after trippy dream sequence. And Perry comes out, Paro comes out, and then they start singing about a song like Together Time, and like all the animals are like two by two, like they're about to hop onto the ark.
No, the Gollywomper, right?
Oh, yeah.
From Davy Crockett.
Yeah, so it basically has all these animals meeting back up. The circle of life here, because we've turned back around to spring again where we started. But before Perry can tell, or not Perry, but Paro can tell Perry how attractive she is, it starts to thunder, and there's a
Lightning.
huge thunderstorm, and lightning strikes and causes a forest fire. And bam, our power legit went out during this scene.
True.
Power goes out, but basically after the storm and everything, so Perry runs up into a tree. Paro stays down because apparently the most dangerous place in a forest fire is up in a tree. So Paro goes back underground, kind of where he spent his winter. And then after the fire scene and everything, they actually do end up finding each other.
Yeah, she's like,
there was so many animals in the water though. Like at one point she was on one of the wildcats' backs.
yeah.
And that cat had to be like, "What are you doing?"
So even before that, even before the rain comes, she just decides that if she stays up there, she's gonna die. So then she just runs out of her nest and she just runs through the fire to make it down onto the ground
and into the water.
And then it starts to rain into the water, and it again proves that animals are smarter than Rose and the Titanic because they're okay with sharing pieces of wood with other people, unlike Rose. And all these animals are stressed out and scared, like they've never seen a Disney True Life Adventure film before, because they know it's going to be okay.
Well, people in this movie, or animals in this movie, are pretty much dying left and right.
It's true. So then the rains come and they put out the fire, which is good because it's a stressful scene. But then the Martin is like, oh,
I finally have a way across to get her now.
I can finally get her now because the wood has fallen over the water. And I don't know if you have this on in your notes. So you want me to go to take it from here on the Martin?
If you want to talk about the Martin, it wasn't really a big thing.
The Martin attacks, and then Poro actually sacrifices himself to save Perry.
Like Perry's dad.
Because Perry is one lucky squirrel. But then a cat comes. Wildcat comes to also decide that they want the squirrel. And somehow Poirot doesn't die and he outwits them all.
Yeah, so the wild cow walks away with the marten, and then Poirot comes out of out of leaves, and then they're reunited, and then Together Time comes on again. And then
Nature
they,
in her wondrous ways writes the happy ending to our play.
yeah, so then they find each other happily ever after, and then the end.
The end, yeah.
Yeah. So you got a little bit of everything, a lot of deaths, some American Ninja Warrior.
So my question for this is, you know what I'm coming.
No.
Even Faye is barking because she knows what's coming.
Yeah.
Will the animals from this true life
No.
adventure survive?
No. I'm still putting my money on the desert animals.
Yeah.
But they got the coyote.
Yeah, but this one had like the dream owl.
Coyote.
Yeah. All right. So they so tell me, what did you rate this?
I rated it a 5.
Strong.
IMDb rated it a 6.7.
Yeah. I don't get it.
I rated it a 5, and I hope to never have to watch this again.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad,
It was
but
different.
yeah.
It was different. So tell me, speaking of it being a 5,
No, it
does
does
it
not
five
make
its way onto your list upon a
It
star?
does not. It does not. I know
Well,
what you're gonna ask.
what
What about
do you-
you?
Well, read yours first.
All right, so I've got Dumbo, Lady and the Tramp, The Three Caballeros, Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland, Fantasia, Saludos Amigos, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, Johnny Tremaine, added last time, finally got something changed on there, and then last but not least, Bambi. Although it was kind of like a true life, like live action Bambi that we just watched.
So I love squirrels.
Mm-hmm.
There's a squirrel right here in this picture.
Black squirrel.
I have a black squirrel tattoo. Story for a different time. But it still doesn't make my list here. My elusive list upon a star is number 1, Peter Pan, followed by Alice in Wonderland, Pinocchio, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Lady and the Tramp, The Three Caballeros, Cinderella, Dumbo, and then number 10 coming in with our new friend Johnny Tremaine.
Mm-hmm.
So, next time, our next film, same year, Christmas Day, released on Christmas Day of 1957. A film that is very divisive. If you've never even seen it, you've heard of it. And we're going to talk about it, whether we want to or not. And that is a film, again, from Christmas Day, the happiest day of the year, 1957. And that film is The Old Yeller. So tune in next time to hear us talk about this Christmas movie called The Old Yeller.
I'm definitely not looking forward to this one.
Would you like to take us out?
Thanks for deep diving the magic.
Bye.
Bye.